is shared. Tamara and Sharon, a duo prepared to light up the path, to bridge every gap. Access meets opportunity, there's no turning back. Forward with fortitude, the future's in sight. Together we rise like stars in the night. Authenticity reigns, love leads the way. We're speaking in harmony every single day. Speak harmony, let your voice intertwine. So let's move forward, ever bold and true. With Sharon and Tamara, the vision breaks through. Speak harmony where hearts align.
Speak harmony where hearts align. We want to welcome you to another edition of Speak Harmony. This Tuesday, this episode of Speak Harmony is brought to you by none other than our sponsor, APAP Media Group, which is a full-service creative video and photo production company specializing in podcasting, multi-camera recording, and live streaming. And you may contact APAP Media at info@apapmedia.com. Thank you again, APAP Media. And guys, I will ask you, I implore you to like, subscribe, and share. Like, subscribe, and share. And welcome to another edition again to Speak Harmony in this hot Atlanta. My goodness. What says you, Dr. Sharon?
Hot, hot, hot. But it's beautiful because we are island people and we love the sunshine.
There you go. There you go.
Love
there
the
you
sunshine.
go. Yes, yes, yes. And we've got, what a show we have lined up. What a podcast, man. I mean, exciting.
Exciting. This is summertime. This is the second season. All right. With the first episode right after summer. So we are so excited to introduce to you our next new guest.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Oh, my goodness. Well, let's get into it. We've got with us in the studio, and we're about to bring her up on camera, this very amazing young lady who goes by Tiffany Ivy. Well, guess what? She's from that beautiful island, the Sunshine Island, out of many, one people, Tiffany Ivy. And it's Tiffany, not your typical way. It's Tiphanie, which is the right way. If you're into phonics, right? But I'm not going to go there. She is the owner and principal consultant of University Compliance Solution, an organization dedicated to guiding institutions through critical accreditations, compliance, and assessment initiatives. She has over a decade. What part? A decade of experience leading high-stakes compliance efforts, navigating complex challenges, and building high-performing teams. Dr. Ivy is no easy person because she's known for her ability to turn complexity into clarity. You don't want it any better than that. Dr. Ivy, you've got it going on, sister dear. So young, and 10 years, and I'm thinking, what? So you start when you were what, 4, 5?
We'll go with that, yes.
Take it while you can. My dear, tell us a little bit about this whole complexity into clarity stuff with your accreditation. I mean, what got you, what led you there? University compliance.
Well,
what's that all about?
First, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
My background is teaching, so I'm a teacher by trade. And one of the things that I prided myself on in my classroom is making things simple. So when I started out with a group of students who were in an inner city community in Florida, Title I school, not a lot of resources. And when you are a reading teacher, you also get the students who are far behind, and they were in 9th and 10th grade and preparing for exams. And so as I was teaching them, I was asked to teach them these concepts using Edgar Allan Poe and Shakespeare, and they just couldn't get it. And I said, you know what? I am just going to make this simple. So I said to them, tell me the songs that you like to listen to. And they gave me the songs. I went home, I listened to them, and then I created lessons where I taught them the concepts using their songs. And so from that point on, I just adapted this whole idea that, you know what, if I approach things in the simplest way, everyone can understand it and everyone can be successful. Because my goal is not to gatekeep knowledge or create barriers to keep people out, but to find a way so that everybody can do the same things. And so the university compliance solution came about when I started working in higher ed, and I was tasked with doing an accreditation reaffirmation for an institution, and not just one, but two simultaneously. And if you're familiar with it, it's 100+ page document that has to be created, plus documentation, plus you have to prepare everyone for interviews. And everyone at the institution, their shoulders were like this. And they were like, oh my God, if I say the wrong thing, we're gonna get shut down. And so I took it on myself as part of my job to say, okay, let's bring the shoulders down, let's relax. It's not as complex as you think it is. Here is how you navigate it. And so I built a whole concept of making everything in accreditation simple for them, showing them how, yes, they may use this fancy jargon and all this nuanced language, but you're actually doing it when you do these three simple things, or this process that is in your office. And they would say, wait, that's it? And I'm like, yeah, that's really it. So all this here is this? Yep, pretty much. And so what I found is that they approach the whole process from a place of confidence. And so I wanted to take that way of doing things and help other institutions, because I know it wasn't just indigenous to that one institution. There are others who were experiencing the same thing. And so that is kind of how the university compliance solution was born, to just really support institutions who needed that extra help to meet their compliance requirements.
Excellent. So the compliance is usually in high schools, or is it in other corporate organizations?
So I only do higher ed right now.
Higher ed, okay.
I do have experience in high schools, but because that experience was based in Florida, it's not one that I see that transfers very well. I mean, the skill sets are the same, but I generally focus on higher ed because state compliance, accreditation, they're all the same. They may use a different jargon. They may ask for a little bit more information, but it's really all the same thing.
Yeah. I appreciate that you make it simple, because someone who has been through accreditation and working in post-secondary schools, you know, the whole thing is, we got to get everything together. And I understand that if you make things simple and you follow what the criteria is step by step, you label everything, the accreditation process is seamless.
It is.
So the whole thing is being prepared and not working under emergency. So I appreciate how you make that and create that as part of best practices, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting. So as far as influences, I mean, standard compliance, I mean, for example, how would you say that encourages, adherence? I mean, because your experience was based in Florida, a Florida concept, right? And so transferring that to other states, because what we already know is that from state to state, everything's different. I mean, a nurse in New York comes to Georgia, moves a few states south, and it's a whole new processes. The processes are different. She has to get certification done. It's almost like you're in a different country.
Yes.
It's almost like you're going to a different country. And so, I mean, from Florida to Georgia, which is right next door, how would you compare that? Because you've lived in Georgia for a minute,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
How would you say, is there any comparison? I mean, and what would you say the differences are? And I mean, to navigate that whole space, I mean, how would you say the approach is? What's that?
So at the core, it's the same. So there may be differences based on other things that states want, but at the core, it's the same.
It's the same.
So I have actually done compliance in Florida and Georgia, in New Jersey, Indiana, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Washington, D.C., Massachusetts. So having navigated those states, I've seen where, yes, there are some different languages and maybe some additional requirements, but the base process is the same. And once you understand how the compliance world works, you're able to transfer that skill across state lines to make it work for the institution.
Yeah. And so how do you blend the equity-centered approach with compliance?
So if I'm able to simplify my approach so everyone can understand and also understand where the gaps are. So let me start there. My first thing when I go to an institution is I do a gap analysis.
Awesome.
And so after the gap analysis, I know what I'm working with. And my gap analysis involves interviewing key personnel who have oversight of some of the areas that will be assessed and understanding where their knowledge base is, what their strengths are, and where there are opportunities for growth. And so I tailor my training. So I have a base training that I do, but I tailor it to the institution and to the personnel specifically so that I'm able to support them. And I do things like weekly office hours so people can just drop in and ask questions outside of the training. Sometimes we do like a working session where I will share my screen and so I do the I do, you do, we do, or I do, we do, you do. And so I do it. We kind of do it together, and then I say, okay, you share a screen and you do it. You walk through the process. Let me make sure you understand. And so that way, everyone gets to get the support that they need. It
Hands-on.
can be time consuming, but it's more fulfilling because I get to kind of touch base with the individuals in the institution. And then when I leave, they're not saying, oh my goodness, she's gone, I don't know what to do. They actually feel empowered to carry on and do what they need to.
Do they have access to you? I mean, once you're done with them, I mean, is there any way of reaching out to you and say, hey, Dr. Ivy, guess what? I'm stuck. I have the manual here, but I'm like a deer in a headlight. I forgot those steps. I mean, is there a refresher? I mean, is there, access to you? I mean, how would they, in other words, do re-ups? I mean, I want a refresher because I forgot the whole process. Because that happens
Yes,
from time
it
to
does.
time. How do you treat that, and how do you do that? Because I'm sure you've had that.
Yes. So before I leave an institution, I leave a couple things with them. I leave recording. I record myself going through all the processes that we talk about. And I also lead them with a process guide. So it goes step by step by step, and it tells them where to look to see, have the regulations change, what to do, how to go about it. But then they also, in that consulting package, get 5 hours to use anytime they want to. So they can call me, that we can set up a Zoom call, Teams call, however, emails, and they can get their questions asked.
Yeah, it sounds as though you have a very coachable and approachable rapport with your clients, and the follow-up is key. That versus some consultants will go in and say, okay, this is what you do, bye. And so you're making sure that they are fully prepared and that they have systems that they have to follow in order to do this. How important do you see what you're doing for the school on a whole?
So one of the things that led me to this is I thought about my own education. So when I came to the U.S., I was an international student. I left Jamaica and I came here to study. And I thought about when I had seen some things happen in institutions, and I said, what if the people behind the scenes didn't know what they were doing and they were making a mess of my education? And in my head, I'm like, after my father had paid, and I think about times the Jamaican currency. And so when you think about that sacrifice that the parents make, that students make, that the whole community makes to get a student through college, you realize that you have very little room for error. And so for me, what I want to do is to make sure that the persons behind the scenes have a grasp of the systems, what they mean, how they're supposed to kind of help them navigate the space so that they can appropriately guide the students through. Because at the end of the day, it's about the students. Mm-hmm. And so if you are not able to execute when it comes to accreditation, if you are out of compliance, that is a school closing, that's a student's tuition dollars going to waste, that's wasted time, that's wasted money, that's wasted effort. And at the end of the day, the goal is to make sure that a student can come into your institution, get a good education, and leave to move into a career that can sustain them.
Yeah. So talking about that, can you share maybe a little, in quotation marks, horror story of when compliance fell apart and it made that, made the students or the school closing, and made the students fail and so forth. Can you kind of give us a little story about that?
So, we see in the news a lot of times where institutions close, and, we've seen what that does. In my experience, I've only had one institution that kind of got close to that point, and that was largely because the administration wanted to do what they wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And you really can't do what you want to do. You have to do what's in the best interest for the student. And if you look at the accreditation standards, they really guide you to do what's best for the student. And so this particular president just decided that they were going to kind of go rogue. And so now they were, sending me very frantic emails and calling me and like, okay, I need your help because I got this letter. And I read the letter and I said, so this says that you did this and you did this and you did this. And the response was, well, it's my school, I can do what I want. And I said, not if you want to collect federal dollars for student aid.
Right.
You don't get to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And so it was a lot of finessing, and that's why relationship building is at the heart of my business, because part of it that, we had to engage in is repairing the relationship with the individuals at the compliance offices. And so it involved me being on calls a lot, having a lot of conversations, not just with the institutional leader, but with the compliance officers themselves, just trying to help them to see, okay, I know there are some missteps here, but we have it now. Here is where we are. And then giving them that confidence for them to say, okay, we'll remove the sanctions, we'll remove these things. Okay, you can go ahead and operate. And so they're now back in full operation. Yes, there are annual reports, but at least they can now operate and enroll students. So,
My goodness.
That's a satisfying feeling to
It
know that
is.
you help put the school, and it's not so much the school, it's the students are able to maintain. And when people are searching for schools, the accreditation part is really important, isn't it?
it is very important.
Why is that so important?
Because it tells you how well the school is going to do what they say they're going to do. Not all accrediting agencies are created equal. There's some that are lax on some standards and some that just kind of say, okay, if you check the box here, you're good. But there are others that say, no, we want these things. And when you really understand the back end of it, you realize that you doing all those steps that they ask for really helps your institution. I always tell everyone that accreditation is like living in a gated community. And so you
like
want
that.
to live in a gated community where the houses look nice, your property value is protected, everyone pays their dues on time and things of that nature. And so we know not all gated communities are created equal. Same thing with accrediting agencies.
Makes sense.
I like that because, you said a couple of key things there. But even with accreditation, because we know there's accreditation, just like we know there are good people, good communities, and there are okay communities. And there's stuff that always slips through the crack because there's that one school, that one person who says, you know what, it's my school. I don't care what you say. I do what I want. I'm the boss. You know, that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And so, gosh, I mean, there are people slipping through the cracks. And what's at the helm of all of this, unfortunately, are those students.
Yeah.
Are those students. And what do you do when that happens? I mean, down the road, you find out after the fact that guess what? Their accreditation, quote unquote, was questionable.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that happens because I've heard of stories like that. And those are the horror stories. So we need people who advocate, and we need people who don't know. And you know, you have your students, you have your children who are going off to school. Even you as an adult student, you want to make sure. And if you don't know, check deeper into it. Go to the people that know. Dig deep.
Yes.
Wouldn't that? I mean, those are some
That's-
final words
that's
that
important.
I would say.
It's very important to check the institution's accreditation.
Yes.
Because I see it a lot of times where students, you may think, oh, this is what I want to do with my life. But life happens and things change. And then sometimes they try to get into a teaching position or a different role, and they realize that their degree doesn't have the power they need it
that's it.
to get into those spaces. And then you have disappointment, you have the tears, you have but I didn't know, nobody told me. And no one told them, and they didn't know. But it's very important for the information to get out there for people to understand just how important accreditation is. It dictates so much, not just for the institution, but more so for the student, for the strength of their degree, and how well they can use that degree to push themselves forward.
How can they check to see if the school is accredited and that, you know, that it has best practices?
So every institution should have a few things on their website in the About Us section, or on their institutional effectiveness page. There should be a description of the school's accreditation. You can go to the U.S. Department of Education's website or CHIA's website, and they will tell you if the school is accredited, if it's recognized by CHIA, if the accrediting agency is recognized by CHIA or by the Department of Education. There are some, it's all institutional accreditation now, but when you're looking at like SACS, you're looking at MDHE or NECHE or NWCCU, and I'm saying all these acronyms. And I'm sorry, the names are just so lengthy. But
Yeah.
you want to look for those that are accredited by those institutions, but then also looking at the program accreditation. If you're going into an education program, is it CAPE accredited? If you're going into a religious studies program, does it have ABHE, which is Association of Biblical Higher Education? Does it have that accreditation? Because you want to make sure that the program has met certain guidelines and standards and that it is viable for you.
Right. And can it not inhibit the student to transfer if they need
It
to?
can.
Yes.
It can. If you want to transfer, it can.
Yeah. So
Wow.
can I switch up a real quick?
Okay, that's what I was. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So I understand you're a passionate dancer. Tell us about that.
Okay, and we don't have much time, so you have a lot to unpack in a few minutes, because you've got to talk about that little book, over there that we're staring at. So you got to
Okay. Yes,
jump in
so
on that.
then-
I am. I've been in the performing arts my whole life. I played the piano. I started playing at 3. Did the Royal Schools of Music in Jamaica. I did dancing, festival, you name it, I did it. And so recently, my husband and my kids said, "Mom, you need to get out there and do something for you." So I went back and I started dancing. Did my first performance earlier this month. And so, it's the thing that kind of gets me going, relieves the stress, and just makes me feel really alive. Yeah.
Whew. And you've only got, like I said, a few minutes to
did the
discuss
book
that,
come
because
about?
that book, yes, that
Yes.
book right there, we need to know about it.
So this is my family trip to Jamaica. I'm really proud of this. This was written by my beautiful daughter, Sarah. She's now 9, but she wrote this when she was 8. So we went to Jamaica, and the day before we were supposed to leave, Jamaica went on the hurricane warning. Hurricane Beryl hit the day after. when we were on the plane back home, she said, "Whoa, that was an adventure. I'm going to write a book about it." And I said, "Sure, go ahead," not thinking that she was actually going to do it. And so she got her paper and she started writing her story and drawing her pictures and everything. And before I know it, she had 25 pages. And we sent it to my mom in Jamaica. She connected with Pete McDaniel. He's the illustrator. He's done an amazing job of just really bringing the story to life, capturing the whole family experience, and just bringing her words to life. So she did her first book, and she said this is going to be a series. So
Congratulations,
yes.
Sarah.
And
I
it's
love it.
available on Amazon.
Okay, so you've
Sarah.
heard that, and now tell the folks how they can reach you, because there are a lot of people who are tuned in right now, and they want to know more about Dr. Ivy and what she has to offer, and you know, they'll check out your daughter as well.
Yes, so I'm on social media. You can find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook, University Compliance Solution. Or you can fill out a contact form on my website, www.universitycompliancesolution.com.
And they can scan that QR code that's
Yes.
on that screen.
That will
right
take you
there.
to my link tree. The QR code will take you to my link tree, and that will have all my social media links.
Great.
Yes.
Final words.
All right. Well, thank you.
What are the final
Any tips? Any final words
That
that
you
you, or read a passage from the book?
Well, I would say final tips. In everything that you do, just try to keep it as simple as possible. Remember that nothing in your life is lived in isolation. Connect the concepts and use it to kind of power you through. It's something that I teach my students. Everything that we do has meaning, and it is something that prepares us for the next step. Try to make things as simple as possible, and that usually helps you to move forward in the best way.
Thank you.
We
right, thanks for
appreciate
having me.
you.
Stay compliant.
Yes.
Yes.
Be prepared.
Keep your nose clean. And that's it. As simple as that, you know. I mean, it makes sense. It's not complex. It's just clarity.
It is, yeah.
The other C. Interesting. Love it. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks
we
for having
appreciate you. Absolutely. And Sarah, I look
Yes.
forward to big things.
To the
for
next
you.
book.
Yes.
The next
The
series. That's right.
Yes.
So now you
Big
have to
things.
travel to all the islands and
There you go.
Yes, I most certainly do. But I'm looking forward to that part.
Yes. Wow. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to go right into that, and then we'll come back with our next guest. So, let's do it. Wow, this is interesting. Dr. Reed, it's been really one heck of a day. I mean, seriously, this is the information, and I'm like, information overload for me, because we don't realize what we don't know
Yes.
until we find out that we really don't know, you know? And it's critical that we get this information, get the information we need, dig deep, ask questions. Ask questions. I don't know everything. You don't know everything. Ask questions. They're questions that we, so yeah. Anyway, so here's the deal. We've got a lineup for you. Okay? We've got our second guest here. Dr. Reed, when I tell you we've got some special people in the house. And honestly, we're moving right into the next phase, the second half of our show. Interesting. Let me tell you, this sister, Dr. Reed, I want you to really bring her up, because wow, what we got going on here.
All right. So we have the lovely, beautiful Michelle Hill. She is an author and a healthcare leader, and is the founder of Holding Hope, a support network for moms and with adults who have mental illness. So that's a whole lot. You support moms and adults who have mental illness, or maybe they're the caregivers of someone who has mental illness.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So let's talk about that.
Yes.
Why is mental illness so important to you?
Well, it's important to me because I am the mother of an adult child with mental illness. And it has been a struggle. And by talking to so many mothers, I realized that there's so many out there who believe that they're alone.
Yeah.
And over the past several years, I myself thought that I was alone in this struggle.
Yeah. And so getting mothers, is it just mothers or is it fathers and other caregivers?
It's other caregivers, but I start with mothers because what I've found that it's mostly mothers who are dealing with this because oftentimes the fathers are there, but they take a back seat.
Okay.
Why is that?
Because oftentimes the child focuses on the mother. The father is not the target, it's usually the mother. And when they spiral, the attention goes to the mother, not the father. So the verbal abuse that comes along with it often goes to the mother.
Yeah.
And the blame often goes to the mother.
Well, I mean, you've been dealing with, and you've dealt with this for how long, would you say?
Well,
when did you discover that there was a problem with your adult child?
So I discovered there was a problem when he was a teenager because here I was, have a child who was an A student, brilliant, love history, love science. And in high school, what happened was that a straight A student went from a straight A to a DF student. So here I was, took him to the pediatrician because it was his yearly visit and literally had to beg the pediatrician to say, please run a drug test because I knew something was going on. It came back positive for marijuana. And so being proactive, I said, let's do counseling. And what happened was that, he shut down and would not participate. Fast forward to years later, what I found out was that, he was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And what I found out was that this is triggered usually by trauma or by substance abuse. And it usually does not manifest itself until around age 24, which is where he was. And it's usually in black male. You usually don't find that in female. And so that's when all of this has unraveled. And it's been going on since then. He's 39 now, and it still continues.
When you say it still continues, is the struggle to not be on the substance or the substance or the struggle and continuation of dealing with the mental illness?
It's both. It's both. So one of the biggest struggles that I've found for myself, and a lot of parents, that is in my shoes, have found, is their adult children being compliant with their medication because they don't want to be on it, don't like the way it makes them feel, or in my son's case, it makes me put on weight, so I'm not going to take it, or, is going to make me feel better, or marijuana will help, which in that case, it's the worst thing that they could ever do, is to, be on that substance. Right. Because when you have schizophrenia, marijuana is something that will make it worse.
Stimulates it.
It does.
Because it stimulates that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you don't want to do that. So some of the struggles that you'll find is that, especially when you're an adult, you can't really force them to take the medication.
You can't. Not with the laws and the rules of this country, especially.
And the laws and the rules are against you as a
works
parent.
against, of course, it totally works against you. Yeah. I mean, so, you have an adult here. I mean, you can't walk. Matter of fact, you can hardly walk up to your 18-year-old and say to them, hey, this is what's going on and I need you to do this. You barely can. I mean, in court, a 14-year-old has say so. So, let alone a 39-year-old. So I feel bad for you, my sister. I mean, honestly, but you're a mother first. So that's your child, no matter how old this child is. And you're going to fight for whatever you need to do whatever it takes to get him well.
Correct.
What are some of those corners, those roadblocks that you run into while trying to navigate through the system?
Well, so many roadblocks. You know, one of the things that as a mother you want to do, you want to put them first. You want to put your child first. But by putting your child first, you take a step back for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And you're wondering, are you doing the right thing?
Yeah.
You know, you feel guilty if you take a day to say, okay, I'm doing me.
Yeah.
And then you try to find the resources for him.
Yeah.
And then you hear the word, okay, you should try to get guardianship. But in the same sense, if you try to get guardianship, there are so many red tapes that they're not telling you about that you're going to come up against.
Yeah. So is this how your support group, is this how you support each other through finding resources, through dealing with the overwhelm and stress and anxiety and those crying moments that you may have during the whole ordeal?
So what happened was, you know, this has been going on with me for years, and I've been dealing with this basically by myself. And, you know, the other night was probably about 2 weeks ago when it's, you know, this surfaced again because my son disappeared for about a year and I just didn't know where he was. And every time the phone rang, you know, I'm thinking, oh my God, is it going to be a call? You know, when I see a number that I don't know, my heart races. I'm like, is this going to be it?
Right.
Is this going to be that call?
Yeah. Devastating.
You know, because I've gotten that call before to say, hey, you know, come and bail me out of jail. You know, so I'm getting, is it that call to say in the hospital or is it the call that says I'm dead? Or, you know, so, you know, your heart races and your mind goes there. And I'm a worry. I worry a lot. So my mind is always going somewhere.
Of course, you're a mother, and you're that mother. You're never at ease.
Never at ease, you know. So over the years, you know, just laying there, sleepless night, you know, taking a shower, crying in the shower, stuff. And my saving grace was therapy. And yes, I'm saying it, I am in therapy. And I've been in therapy for a while because I had to save my sanity.
We applaud you.
Yes,
Of course.
I had to save my sanity because if I did not go
Self-care.
into therapy, I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah.
Put
And
that
one of
mask
the
on.
things that therapy taught me was that you got to have to learn to let go in order to save him.
Yeah.
So about a week and a half ago, I had to put him in the hospital again for the umpteenth time. And today I had to go and get him out of the hospital again for the umpteenth time.
Yeah.
And he turned to me and he said, why can't I come home? And I looked at him and I said, you can't, and I'm going to tell you why. And I said, because if you come home, that means that I'm letting you crawl and I'm not letting you fall. I need to let you fall so you can walk.
Say that again.
I
Wow.
need to let you fall so you can walk.
Yeah.
That's
And I
deep.
look at him and I said, I believe in you. I said, if I've never said this to you before, I'm saying it to you. I believe in you and I believe that you can do it.
Yes.
And I need for you to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
So where you are right now is a stepping stone to where you can be.
Yeah.
I said, I need you to find a Theo that I know and the Theo that I know you used to be.
Yeah. So you're
Creating
giving him
hope.
an opportunity
Yes.
to have accountability for himself, responsibility for himself, and letting him know that it's so important that he finds himself in the process.
course.
Is he going through therapy as well?
I'm hoping. I'm hoping.
Yeah.
So back to your question about holding hope.
Mm-hmm.
So when it surfaced again, you know, and I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was telling me about her son and the struggles that she went through with her son, you know, through mental illness. And I thought, how many other people are out there that are going through this and feeling hopeless?
Absolutely.
So I started the Facebook group.
Mm.
And when Sharon was bringing me on tonight, we were going to talk about my business and what I do.
Yeah.
Was talking about, MAG Resource Associates and everything that I do there. And then I said, Sharon, no. I said, this is way more important.
Yeah.
Because a woman from Milwaukee went onto that group and she said, thank you for starting this group.
Wow.
Because she needed somewhere where she could find a place where she did not feel judged, where she could speak to friends, where she can find friends, and where she has a safe space. And that made me cry.
Yeah.
Holding hope.
Holding hope.
I love it because, wow. And so I understand the depth of it. I understand where you are. And I thank God that you have been patient. You've been following the lead of God because that's God leading you to that space to help others because there's so many out there right now who are watching and will be watching this podcast. And they need to know they can hold on to hope. They can hold on to hope. There is hope, guys, and it's serious. And you don't have to suffer in silence because a lot of us tend to do that.
Yeah.
We're hurting and we're so embarrassed. We're so ashamed that people are going to judge us but who cares?
Yeah.
I usually tell people, I don't care anymore. I'm redeemed.
Yeah.
So I thank you for being open, for being honest, for being so transparent.
Yeah.
Because
I
in
was
our
there.
culture, it's
Absolutely.
like, don't tell anybody. We don't need people knowing our business. Keep it quiet. Don't, and even relatives, you're hiding it from them. So you're shoving everything onto the mat. No, bring it to the surface because there are people watching who need to hear this. Not only in Milwaukee, but in Timbuktu, literally. I mean, all over this zone, we've got to keep secrets, put secrets away. I mean, we don't have time for secrets.
Yeah.
So we're thankful for someone like you, Michelle,
Yeah.
and we appreciate that.
But I was there. I was one of those who was like, okay, you know what? I really can't talk about this. I can't. But then I realized, you know what?
At
I've
what
worked in
cost?
mental health.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've started support group for parents with kids with special needs so that they can have a safe space to come. And I'm like, if I can do that
For other people,
for other people, why can't I do
For
it for
yourself.
myself?
Absolutely.
put that mask on, girlfriend.
Why can't I do it for myself? So my hope for holding hope is that, there would be a lot more people, especially local people, to come on board.
Yeah.
So I can have little coffee talks at little coffee shops so that they can come and support each other and hold each other's hand so that they can cry if they want to cry.
Of course.
And then laugh after you cry. Because the roller coaster that we're on, a lot of people don't realize, that they're a roller coaster, they're grief.
Yes.
There are times that I feel like I was just floating, that I was outside of my body, and I just feel like, where I am.
Yeah.
But then you have other children. I mean, how do they cope? Because, you're coping with taking care of this child, but this is not the only child that you have. So that's another dynamic altogether. How do you navigate this?
That was one of the hardest part. Trying to take care, because when all of this started, my youngest was young. And trying to take care of him and trying to take care of his sister, and then, trying to deal with what was going on, with their older brother, because he's the oldest. He's 11 years older than his youngest brother. So trying to take care of that, and not only that, I was in school.
Ooh, talk about overwhelm.
Superwoman.
Huh?
So I was in
Yes.
school, and and thank God, I was married at the time, and thank God, my husband gave me the opportunity to stay home, so I didn't have to work. But then I went back to work, and going back to work was my saving grace, because I stayed busy.
Get away. Yeah.
And that was my way of coping, was working. So I throw myself into work.
Yeah.
And my therapist told me that, Michelle, you throw yourself into work not to deal with what you're dealing with, and that's not a good thing. You need to allow yourself to grieve, and you need to allow yourself to cry.
Yeah, it's called avoidance. Yes.
Yes.
But,
So
but
I've
it's
been
understandable that you need to keep your mind busy
yes.
than dealing with that. So we are working through that and moving through acceptance and talking to the people in your support group, because one thing about the support on Facebook is that you can go any hour and just start typing away.
That part.
I'm going through this, and I'm
Yes.
sure someone else is going to answer and say, I feel you. So, I really thank you for reaching out there and taking that Band-Aid off and letting people know that these are serious issues that we have to deal with. Mental health, mental wellness, mental illness is no joke.
It is
Yeah.
not. And, it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
So not because the child turns 18 or
40.
it's 40, it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
It continues, and
Yeah.
it's just continues. And for me, it did not only happen, that
Yeah.
it, mentally,
Yeah.
physically, it has affected me physically.
Yeah.
And in so many different ways. And years ago I said, okay, you know what, I'm going to start writing things down, and then I stopped. And then my therapist said, Michelle, you need to start doing a journal. So I started journaling, and that journals turned into a book. And then I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do that, I need it to be something that can help somebody. So at the end, I started writing workbook, having a workbook. And then I started having inspirational. And then I start praying and putting prayers. Because if it wasn't for God and his mercy,
Yeah.
I don't know where I would be.
Wow.
And then, I have to go kudos to, I have my sister, and you guys have met
Oh,
her.
absolutely. She's amazing.
And I think sometimes she just has an hindsight of knowing when I'm going through something, because she will just pick up the phone and call me and say, oh, I'm checking on you. Or she'll pick up the phone and say, get dressed, I'm coming, I'm picking you up.
Good.
Just to get me outside of the house. And I think she just knew that, I was at that point
Yeah. That's beautiful.
where I just needed to just get away from all of that.
And what's the name of your book?
When love isn't enough.
And love isn't enough.
Wow.
And in your book, do you list resources?
Oh, yeah, lots of resources. And that's one of the things that happened through all of this journey is that I have found so many resources. So many resources. And it's not that I'm going to endorse him, even though I should, because he has been amazing. But Dr. David Cantor from Mind and Motion, when Theo moved to Georgia, he was one of the person I turned to and said, listen, this is what is going on. And he said, bring him in. And he did what you call neurotherapy. I had 2.5 good years.
Okay, so for those, I'm going to stop you right there. What is neurotherapy? I don't know if I'm the only one who doesn't kind of know altogether what that means.
So neurotherapy is where they take, it's like having an EKG of your brain, but it shows it shows where you have deficiency in your brain, and it lights it up. So it can show you, where you have a deficiency in your memories, all of that. So they put leads on your brain, and it just lights up where anything's going on. It's good for people with PTSD, ADHD, any kind of, even Alzheimer's, they have things going on that they can use it for now. It's an amazing. And then, so after they have that, then you can do neurofeedback. And with neurofeedback, what they do is like they're retraining your brain.
Yes.
So I went through neurofeedback because I have fibromyalgia, and that's what I went through neurofeedback for. I mean, for years, nothing.
Yeah.
Does insurance cover that? Because
Unfortunately, of course, insurance is not going to cover
I was
it.
just I was just putting it out there.
No.
I was just putting it out there.
So he went through that, and I'm telling you, that helped him so much.
2 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so unfair that we live in this great big America, and I'm gonna go there because I can. We live in one of the greatest nations in the world, used to be one of the greatest nations in the world. And with this great system that we're supposed to have, all the resources and everything, not everybody has most, I would say, I dare to say, 3/4 of the people don't have access because there's lack of the proper health care and the wealth, the money, funds to be able to pay for those resources. Not everybody can. I mean, you are blessed because you work in that space. How many people don't know that and don't have a Dr. Cantor that they can reach out to and say, hey, because I watch public TV and that's my thing. That's my resource. And they're trying to get rid of that. But guess what? Until then, I've seen Dr. Amen, Danielle Amen. I mean, I've seen I've learned. I mean, that's my university right there. Yep. I mean, that's my college right there, my college courses. I've learned a lot from public TV and public radio. So a lot of times we spend on our phone researching YouTube University, whatever, Google University. Honestly, there's a lot of information that we can read. There's resources. What are some of the resources that you could share with the audience that you have? I mean,
well, I do have a lot of resources depending on what. So for mental health, okay, right here in Georgia, you have NAMI, NAMI. They have family support group.
Speaking that camera right there, that's your camera right there. I want you
Okay,
to tell
so you have
folks.
NAMI, which is a
It's
family
right up on the
support group.
screen.
They have peer support group. They have so many different things that they offer. They have funding for different things. If you Google them, NAMI, you'll find all the things that they have. We also have the Mental Health of America is another thing that you can do. You can look for another thing, suicide. It was very difficult when the social worker was talking to my son that he admitted that he had suicide tendency. So the National Suicide Prevention Line, which is 988, write that down, 988. You have the Family Caregiver Alliance. That is for caregivers because as caregivers, we get so overwhelmed that we think that we're superheroes and that we can do it by ourselves. We can't.
That's right.
We definitely can't. And then, there are so many books. That's one thing. I'm an avid reader, so I read a lot. So I've put some of the books that I have been reading. The Boundaries Boss by Terry Cole is an amazing one. It has so many good nuggets in there that you can take. A Unique Mind by Kay Redfield Jameson is another one that is so amazing. These, you can go to the library because that's where I get them. I go to the library and I check these books out. Yes, I do have a library card. You can check these books out, but there's so many different resources. Holding Hope, I'm always posting articles there every week, sometimes twice, 3 times a week I post articles there. And I also will be having webinars where I'm inviting professionals to come on and speak. So, just keep focusing and just remember you are not alone. You are not alone. And I'm going to say, even when love isn't enough to fix it, it's enough to carry us through. You can still hold hope even when you have to let it go. You're not alone. There is a village waiting to hold you up. And that's what holding hope is, a village to hold you up.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Wow. That is beautiful.
I love it.
Holding hope.
I love it. So the advice you would give to other moms or fathers too, because there are fathers that are struggling, families that are struggling, but in particular moms who feel like they're drowning in guilt and fear. What would you say to them? Step back, remove fear, remove guilt, forge forward, and just go for it. I mean, go for whatever resource you can find to assist you.
One of the biggest things that I can say is self-care. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you cannot take care of that person.
That's right.
So you got to self-care. For me, energy yoga. Every Monday, my energy yoga. This summer, it's water aerobics. But also, find a good movie that you like. Sometimes when I'm feeling down, I find something and I binge watch it. Or I just lost myself in a good book. And then you have guided meditation. If you Google guided meditation, they are amazing because it tells you what to do, those deep breathing.
That's right.
And I know you do this.
Oh, yeah.
I have on my phone, and it's every 2 hours for 5 minutes. I have a meditation for 5 minutes on my phone, and it ding me when it's time for me to. And if I'm driving, I pull over and I do it. And I make a conscious effort to do it because it grounds me, and it really and truly, I'm trying to do self-care more and more because for years I was so focused on taking care of everybody else
Yeah,
that now I'm trying to focus on taking care of Michelle.
that's right.
Because I'm trying to find me. I've lost me somewhere along the way,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to find me.
Thank
And I
you for
just
being
wanna-
so
yeah, so
vulnerable.
honest. Yes.
And so honest and giving us good tips to go by. But yes, self-care is prioritizing yourself so that you can be better for those that you care for. But definitely, if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone else. Or they get half.
There you go. There you go.
They're a
And
little
we,
bit.
We want to thank everyone, though, because let me tell you guys, if no one knows this, Michelle Hill, she's one different cookie. Let me just put it that way. I can't find another description for her. She's different because Michelle has this studio, this small space that we have here at APAT Media, filled with supporters. We've got people in the background who came out to support us, to support you. And so you've got a great village. But you know what? It's the stuff that you do because your light is so bright.
Oh,
You shine
thank you for
so
saying
brightly.
that.
You shine so bright. I'm giving you your flowers now, sister.
right now.
Smell them. Because
Look at those cheeks. Look at that
let me
smile.
tell you, you don't understand. There are days
Absolutely.
I can't go a day without talking to you. I mean, I'll speak to everybody else, but when that phone rings and I see Michelle Hill or Dr. Sharon Reed, I'm like, I got to get this. I'm so serious about it because you're that special.
Yeah.
And this community loves you. We're here for you. So just never feel alone. You know, I mean, and as we wrap up, Sister Sharon, oh, wow. What an amazing evening. I mean, we thank you for your vulnerability, as Sister Sharon said, the honesty. I mean, just your openness, your candidness. I mean, this is amazing.
Yeah.
A lot of people out there,
Right,
you know,
and
I mean, really.
I just want to put it out there. You said you were going to talk about something else on what you do, but I want to remind you that this is what you really do. This is what you do, and it inspires and motivates others to take care of themselves, even though they're going through the struggle, working, living with someone who may have mental illness. They don't have to do it alone because there are groups and resources. And thank you for that encouragement.
I just want to say this before we go. So I still walk this journey. I still have hard days. Healing is not linear, and neither is love. There is no final arrival point. It's about learning to carry hope, even in the midst of the mess. Just remember that. Even in the midst of the mess, there is hope.
Thank you so much. And we
Ashe,
stand in the
we stand
gap
in the gap.
of hope.
Yes,
Thank
Yes, we do. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. We appreciate you.
you. And so we are wrapping up. Any announcements?
That's it. We'll be back here.
All right, so that's a wrap. As we say, stay tuned again for Speak Harmony. On Tuesdays between 7 and 8, we have excellent guests. So come in. We look forward to hearing your messages. Thank you, chat room, for talking to us. Thank you for our supporters. Thank you for APAP for allowing us to have this venue. Y'all have a good evening.
Subscribe and share, guys. Like, subscribe, share. We thank you. Blessings. Wow.
Meetings of the mind where wisdom is shared. Tamara and Sharon, a duo prepared to light up the path, to bridge every gap. Access challenge meets opportunity, there's no turning back. Forward with fortitude, the future's in sight. Together we rise like stars in the night. Authenticity reigns, love leads the way. We're speaking in harmony every single day. Speak harmony, let your voice intertwine. So let's move forward, ever bold and true. With Sharon and Tamara, the vision breaks through. Speak